Hi everyone, my name's Katie and welcome back to my videos on my current pregnancy and just little bits of advice I want to give you on the way. So just an update, I am 23 weeks pregnant, so I've made this video quite quickly from my last one, just because I realised that I was spacing them out quite a lot and I had almost so much I wanted to talk to you about that I thought I would make this one a little bit quicker. As I mentioned, now 23 weeks and I'm feeling all the more tired and big for it. I know I complained about that in my last video, and I'm probably going to complain about how tired I am in every other video coming up, so apologies for the broken down record. I mentioned in my last video I've been suffering with sciatica, which means my lower back is not great, and finding a position that's comfortable for my lower back has been really difficult. Similarly, if you read everywhere, you're not supposed to sleep on your back because the weight of the baby puts quite a lot of pressure on your main artery. You know, you can cut off the blood supply to baby, which is not great. The chances of this happening are really low. But when you're trying to get to sleep and you find yourself on your back naturally, as you do when you move around when you sleep, you start to then panic, and then your brain starts to go, and then you change positions, and then you wake up on your back again. It's this vicious cycle. I'm still slightly in denial about having this baby, although I can feel it moving and bumps there, and it's becoming a lot more real, and we started buying a few little bits and bobs for the baby. I still can't get my head around the fact that it's happening. I've been so focused on just getting through life things and, you know, trying to deal with work, deal with having my family here, trying to have a social life in between all that, that it almost feels like this baby has been dragged along with me here, there and everywhere, and eventually it's going to turn up and it's going to be the biggest shock of my life. I think once I finish work, that will be when it all sort of hits home and I can start focusing on the baby and focusing on myself a little bit more. At the moment in the UK, we are going through the coronavirus outbreak. I appreciate this is quite topical, so if you're watching this video a few months or a few years down the line, we're going to look back on this video and it will remind us of the complete chaos that's going on at the moment. I kind of feel like there's not enough information. And there's no one that's really given. The doctors don't know, nurses don't know, midwives don't know. So the way I'm kind of getting through it is just by plodding along, really. We were meant to be going to Venice next week for a little baby moon, but that unfortunately has been cancelled because of this bloody virus. The more people I tell about us not going, they go, oh, it's such a shame, it's such a gorgeous place, you will love it, you will love it. I'm like, shut up, we're not going anymore. So today I am going to talk about eating and food, which is one of my favourite topics. Everyone loves food, but it's a really complex and difficult one whilst pregnant, because there are so many, well, what people think are so many limitations when it comes to pregnancy, and there are to a degree. A little bit of sort of history about me. I've always had a really complex relationship with food. So back in my late teens, I suffered with bulimia and anorexia. I went down to about just over 6 stone at the time, which was too small, and the way I managed to get out of that rut is actually I went travelling. And actually, when you're in a completely different environment and out of your day-to-day routine and experiencing food in different countries and meeting loads of people who don't give a crap about your size, and I've been fine since. So I understand that with pregnancy, and I was a bit nervous when I got pregnant the first time, how my relationship with food was going to be, because your body is naturally going to get bigger, and for anyone who suffers with anorexia or any kind of complex with food, regardless, your relationship with food is going to severely change when you get pregnant. It might not, but it might. So I think when I became pregnant the first time, it made me really nervous about how I was going to be, but actually it was fine, as long as you try and focus on what, you know, you're trying to grow a human, basically. As long as you focus on that and not so much about what you can't do, it makes it easier. So one of the main things to remember is that you aren't actually eating for two. You actually don't need any extra calories, especially for the first and second trimester. For the third trimester, they do suggest that you can have an extra 200 to 300 calories, which only actually equals 2 slices of toast with some butter on, and that's daily. So it's not a huge amount. It's not like you've got double portions or you have a multitude of snacks in between your meals. Nothing like that. I'm going to focus a little bit on alcohol now, because obviously the moment you mention the fact that you're pregnant or you're thinking of getting pregnant, especially if you do enjoy alcohol or the odd glass of wine or the gin and tonic or whatever it is, getting pregnant and then telling yourself that you've got to limit yourself on alcohol can be a scary prospect for a lot of people, and I totally get that, because whilst not being pregnant, and especially before having Emily, I would get to the end of the week and my little treat to myself would be opening a bottle of wine, having a glass, maybe two, and just unwinding on the sofa, maybe having a takeaway. And that would be my ideal Friday night. It would just be lunging in front of the TV and just eating whatever crap I can get my hands on, and with a glass of wine. And that would be my treat to myself. During the first trimester especially, I had a complete aversion to alcohol, which was handy because my body was doing that for me. So I didn't even fancy it, to be honest. And then as I got out of that sickness fog, I did have the odd glass of wine, odd small glass of red wine, which I enjoyed. I realised my body was really quite intolerant to it. So even just a small glass of wine, I found myself feeling drunk very quick, which scared me. And also I would feel like a train wreck the next day. On the note of alcohol, I have found something which I really liked, which I'm going to share with you. Just a little reminder that I'm not being paid to advertise anything on this, so this is just something I personally found. I found this really nice non-alcoholic wine. Bear in mind, a lot of non-alcoholic wines out there are absolutely loaded with sugar. One wine that I did find that I really liked, or one non-alcoholic wine, was something called Botanical, which looks like this. Unfortunately, I don't have an actual bottle with me, but it looks like that. Yeah, so that's it. That's the green bottle, and it's called Botanic, and you can get it from. I managed to get it on Ocado. Not that we don't shop with Ocado, but I managed to find it on there. Or you can go directly to the website that makes it and sends it off to you. So it's about £7 or £8 a bottle, which, if you think about it, is actually quite a nice, posh normal wine from a supermarket. Yeah, so it is a little bit on the pricey side, but it is the best one I found. It's really floral and, well, botanical, as the name suggests. So, and it's got a little bit of a fizz to it. It's not actually, when you drink it, it kind of tastes like fizzy gin, but in a good way. It is delicious, and it's more on the dry side than the sweet side, so you don't get that heavy sugar, tangy taste that you get with some non-alcoholic wine. Good segue to talk about cravings and food aversions. I really fancied things like apples and grapes, any kind of like anything with juice. So it must mean that I must have been dehydrated for the majority of my pregnancy, which I probably was. That's what I was craving all the time. I didn't really have any food aversions though. I can't really remember actually. It was, over 3 years ago now. This pregnancy, however, because I've been so much more sick, it's almost been laughable at the difference in my diet with this pregnancy. Especially for the first trimester, the thing I detested the most was coffee and tea. Coffee especially was my one true love. I would give up every other vice known to mankind for my cup of coffee in the morning, and it would be the one thing that I would look forward to more than anything else. This time as well, I had a huge craving for meat, which is ridiculous. So we are not vegetarians. I'm not gonna like pretend to be, but we do avoid meat and meat products whenever we can. But I found that during the first trimester, any kind of meat, steak, lamb, chicken, I couldn't get enough of it. My grandmother actually had a craving for coal, which I've now since learned that that's actually quite common, but it also means that your body is severely lacking in a vitamin of some sort. So if you are getting strange cravings such as that, then go to your GP, because it would mean that your body is starved from something it really needs. Reflecting on what your body needs rather than just habit, I found a really good way of making sure that I respond to what my body needs. Rather than just going to, oh, I need to treat myself, which was what my go-to was before. And I think it's a really common habit, and it's a really difficult one to get out of. But I found that with having a toddler and trying to eat healthily anyway through her, has been a really good way of listening to my body's needs. When you aren't drinking, it's natural to want to eat more because you don't have the lovely treat of drinking alcohol. So it's almost as if your body is telling you, well, I can eat all this instead. Precarious rut to get into, because you end up eating extra and it's not always going to be good stuff. I'm going to eat loads of cake, which is something I have to admit I've gotten into a little bit on this pregnancy. It's not a problem, obviously, if you want to have the odd little treat now and again. It's you know, sometimes you just need it because you want some energy, because you're knackered all the time. So the odd biscuit or cake here and there, I don't think it really makes much difference. As I mentioned previously, I love coffee. I love coffee so much. So trying to cut down my caffeine intake has been quite challenging, actually. So pregnant women are allowed 200 milligrams of caffeine a day. What is this, I hear you ask? So very good question. So your normal sort of instant coffee, a cup of instant coffee, is about 65 milligrams of caffeine. Filtered coffee is around 95 milligrams per cup. And if you want sort of a single shot cappuccino, if you crave your cappuccinos in the morning, or if you want to go to the local coffee shop, if you've got a single shot in a cappuccino, it's around 77 milligrams, and then for a double it's double that. So when you put it like that, it's actually quite easy to monitor as far as coffees are concerned. What you don't realise sometimes is that caffeine can filter into other parts of your life without you realising. So things like Coke or Diet Coke are really, you know, are loaded with caffeine. You can get non-caffeinated stuff, but it's quite difficult to get, especially if you're sort of nipping in and you just want a can or a small bottle. They're really difficult to find, especially in the UK. And chocolate as well. Chocolate has caffeine in it. And again, if you're letting yourself a little treat because you're not allowed alcohol, and you want that extra little bar of chocolate, you've got to factor that in with your caffeine intake. I have been craving a little bit lots of veggies and fruit, which is good. I think my body is telling me this time that I need to have a lot more healthy stuff in my body. It's been handy having a toddler because I have to be a good role model for her in regards to eating. So whatever we make for her. So we've got to be really mindful of that. But what this has done is it's made us do things like have less takeaways, which is, you know, something, as I mentioned, on weekends we'd often have the odd takeaway here and there, and which has actually made us save money, which is great. It's been helpful in that respect, being a mum the second time round and having that different take on food. With that, eating lots of veggies and fruit means I take on more fibre. So as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, constipation was one of the things I was really struggling with, especially in the first trimester. I think it has got better, thank goodness, but I don't think it helps the fact that pregnancy vitamins that you take have extra iron in, which can constipate you. And the way that I've managed to combat this is by all bran, eating all bran in the morning. Oh my god, it's been a godsend. It's been so good at making sure I keep nice and regular. Sorry to bring this up, but it's a fact that it happens. Anything with the word bran in, get it in you, because it will help, trust me. Obviously don't forget to take your vitamins. There's been loads of studies out there which suggest that you don't need extra vitamins during pregnancy as long as you have a healthy, balanced diet. But I am taking them because I just think it's a good idea too. But it is recommended that you take folic acid, because if you don't take a good amount of folic acid in with your vitamins and your body, then you can have birth defects such as spina bifida. Take your folic acid at the very least. Otherwise, if you can get pregnancy vitamins, that would be great. I'm taking them, and you know, the only problem is that they can cost quite a lot over the 9 months that you're pregnant. But here in the UK, there are incentives through the GP and through midwives that you can actually get them on prescriptions. Obviously, things like omega-3 are really useful for brain development in babies, especially in the last trimester. Obviously, having omega-3 is really important, especially in your 3rd trimester of pregnancy, because it helps with brain development of the baby, which is during the last trimester. So I really recommend 2 portions of oily fish a week. No more than that, because oily fish such as salmon and tuna and things like that can have certain toxins in them, which can build up and get through to the baby if you have too much. So just bear that in mind. Pregnant women aren't supposed to eat the weirdest things, such as shark, swordfish and marlin. We're not allowed to eat. So something I've introduced, because we're trying to not eat as much meat, flaxseed. You can get ground up flaxseed, and that's really, really high in omega-3, and you can add it to things like cereals, or if you have a stir fry, you can shake it on top to give it a bit of a crunch. So that's a really, really good way of getting some omega-3 if you're trying to avoid meat products like us. I have been hungry, and I've been hungry. 10 to half 10 is my limit, and then I want to raid the cupboard. One thing that I really, really am enjoying are banana pancakes. And they're really, really simple. So I actually give them to my toddler to eat. So there's 2 eggs and 1 mashed up banana, and you mix them, add a little bit of cinnamon in, and then fry them like a pancake. And they're delicious, and they're really, really good just to snack, because they're really sweet, especially, you know, with bananas. Just be wary that if you eat too many eggs and too many bananas, it does clog you up, but that's where the all bran comes in. Yay! That's my little spiel on food. I apologise, there's been a bit of a longer video this time. When you get me talking about food, I can talk forever. So next time we're talking about how you cope being pregnant at work. I've already mentioned in a previous video how you break the news to work, but actually how do you get by with your day-to-day depending on what you do. So as I said, I work in healthcare. Sometimes it's been a real challenge for me to be able to juggle work and still remain healthy whilst being pregnant. So we're going to touch on that next time. But yes, see you later. Bye.